In today's video, I want to talk about showing up, because for me, changing my life around completely and just turning everything around, transforming, started when I showed up, when I woke up earlier, when I went to bed earlier, when I stuck to my morning routine and my habits. That's really what I think has been one of the most important ideas and aspects of me completely changing my life, has been to show up, to have that self-integrity, to keep the promises that I make to myself. Even with filming this video right now, I just sat down and started recording without having any idea of what I wanted to make this video about. And as I sat down, what came straight into my mind was showing up. Even when you don't know what's going to happen or what you're going to do or the outcome, just simply showing up. Because when you show up, there's a certain magic that is enacted, that is activated, where showing up in the same place and at the same time every day, there is something so special about it. For me, every day I wake up and I do the same morning routine and I sit at the same coffee shop at the same time and I open up my journal and I start to write. And there's a certain flow state that you get into, that when you show up, there are forces and powers that are beyond you that will start to work for you. That you don't have to think of everything that you're going to do and willing your way to perform to a certain degree or to get a certain outcome, to have a certain result. Just simply show up. That's the first step. In many ways, it's like awareness, where when you become aware of the problem, then you can actually solve the problem. When you show up every day, then you can actually do the work because you are there. And that is the hardest part. For so many people, working out isn't as hard as getting to the gym, because once you're there, things sort of happen. You know what you have to do. It's getting yourself there that can be the most difficult part. So as I'm filming this video right now, the hardest part isn't speaking to the camera right now, because I can talk about so many things. The hardest part was actually sitting down here, setting up my camera, putting my mic on, and clicking record. I know that there's an abundance of things that I can talk about, and that the ideas will come to me, that the ideas are not mine, but when I can facilitate a space for the ideas to come, they will. And that's what it's about, putting yourself in the best position for things to happen, putting yourself in an advantageous position, in an opportunistic position. It's like when you go to certain places, you meet certain people. I go to a really high-end luxury gym, and so I meet people that are of that nature. I meet really successful people because of the place that I go to. And so that's what I think is so important, just to simply show up. And if you just do that, if you can just master showing up, master the discipline of showing up even when you don't feel like it, I just think it's inevitable that things will get so much better in your life. That if you're at a place where you're lost, where you don't have clarity, where you want to figure things out, the best place to start to figure things out is to simply just show up for yourself. It doesn't matter what you want to do in your life, but if you show up for yourself, your life will figure itself out. Inside of you, there is something that you are meant to do, and when you show up for yourself in little ways, those answers and those things will come to you. Because we all have an intuition, we all have an inner voice, we all have something within us that speaks to us, but so often we can't hear it because we are not showing up for ourselves, because we don't have a relationship of integrity with ourselves, where we keep the promises that we make to ourselves, where we don't have that self-trust. But that's the awesome thing about showing up too. That's the amazing part, is that when you show up for yourself, you learn that you can trust yourself. There was a period of time where I didn't feel like I was trustworthy. I didn't trust myself because I said I was going to do things and I didn't do them. And that affects the reputation you have with yourself. It affects your ability to trust that gut feeling. Now, I don't second guess myself. I don't have doubt. All of these things are interconnected. Showing up to yourself, leads to trusting yourself, leads to having confidence. All of these things reflect externally. And so you have to realize that things start on a small scale and it has a domino effect. Everything counts. I was watching this video, I think it was Bob Proctor, where he was just talking about how everything counts. The little things that you do, some of the things that maybe you overlook, the things that you don't do, everything counts. And so when you think of it that way, when you're intentional, then you're going to show up in all the little ways. You're going to be mindful. You're going to be aware. You're going to look at, what am I doing with my life? What are the small micro things that I'm doing? Because essentially the micro things end up being the macro. And for me, approaching my life that way, like, okay, what's the first thing I do in my day? I wake up first thing in the morning. What was I doing before? And what do I want to do differently? What is more in alignment with the highest, best, truest version of myself? What is most authentic? How do I want to feel? How do I want to go about my life? And for me, presence, being intentional, and connecting with myself is so important. So I don't go on my phone for at least the first hour of the day. I don't engage in the technological world. I'm not going online in any way. I am just here in the world. I take a walk, I observe, I sit in stillness. I'm just with the experience as it is. I am here. I'm not reacting, I'm not responding to messages, I'm not emailing, I'm not doing any busy work. I'm just being a human being. And I'm outside, and I'm in nature, and I just take that time for myself. And I journal. And that helps me prime my mind and my brain before I go and have to do the things that I know I have to do. Which is why I wake up earlier. I wake up earlier because then I have that time. Because it's about making time. We all have the same 24 hours, but it's about how are you using yours. If you know you have to be somewhere at a certain time, but there are ways that you want to show up for yourself, then make it possible for you to do that. And if you have to go to bed earlier, you can do that as well. But really the theme and what I'm here to talk about today is how powerful it is to show up for yourself. And if you do it for yourself in the smallest ways, it will have a ripple effect in your life. And ultimately, the ripple effect is how you transform your life completely to the point where you are unrecognizable. It's the little, small habits, the things that we often overlook, ways in which we respond, being aware of our thought patterns and our emotional cycles, how we react to people, taking that little bit of time to breathe and to pause and to slow down. It's one of the reasons why I love slow mornings, because it gives me the time to just pause, to slow down, to reevaluate, to be patient, to really examine and look at things. What am I doing? Why am I doing this? How is this going to get me to where I want to go? And so I think just applying that level of awareness and intentionality and thoughtfulness to everything you do will result in the most authentic life possible. And I think ultimately that's what we all crave. We crave a life where we can authentically show up as who we are, as who we truly are, not who the world wants us to be, not who our parents want us to be, not who anybody wants us to be besides who do you want to be? Who do we want to be? And ultimately that starts by showing up for yourself in whatever way that you can. Even if it's one thing at first, one thing that you do to show up for yourself. You start there, and the next day it's 2, the next week it's 3. And it's just about building on that. Thinking small, but showing up, because you'll realize it's not as small as it seems. And ultimately, I think showing up for yourself is so valuable, because when you are someone that can show up for yourself, then you can show up for others. And there's a selfless nature in all of us, where we want to be able to be there for other people. We want to be able to be, say, a father who can be there for their kids. We want to be a friend who can show up when they need us most. We want someone who can be there for our parents when they're going through a struggle or whatever it is. We want to be someone that others can count on. We want to be reliable. We want to be the person that is going to be there in desperate times when people need us most. And that all starts with how are we able to be there for ourselves. Because the stronger the person that you can be for you, the stronger you will be able to be for others. When you can navigate those times within yourself, you'll be able to do it for others effortlessly. It'll just come natural to you because you will be that type of person. When it is ingrained in you, when it is a part of your identity to show up and to be there no matter what, that will translate into every other area of your life. And so I know for me, I want to be someone who can be there for others. I want to be trustworthy. I want to be reliable. I want to be the person others can count on. I want to be that person that everyone in my life knows that Eric has my back. Eric will be there. Eric will show up. I know. I don't have to second guess it. I don't have to question it. There's no uncertainty. There's no doubt in my mind that he will be there, that he will show up, that if I need him, he will be there. And because of that, because I know that I want to be that type of person, I remind myself of that. I remind myself that when I don't feel like it, when it's hard, when whatever else is going on in my life, when I'm overwhelmed or anxious, that I'm going to show up. That's what I'm practicing. I'm casting a vote to be that type of person. And so I think it's just important to be aware of that. What type of person do you want to be? And are you showing up as that person?